Hey, a guy I thought would be here hitting the golf ball, because I know he loves golf. It's John Doc Maakaron joins us from the Detroit Sports Podcast. What's up there, Doc?
Man, it's all good. Tom, Anson, it's a great Monday. Look, man, I can't get out to every single event. It's vacation time until training camp starts. But
That's right.
Listen, the DMSA is a great group, and Cherry Creek, man, that place has taken a lot of my golf balls. My goodness, that's a tough course.
Hey, brother. Hey, 9 days away from you going back to work. The rookies report on the 16th. The vets come in on the 18th. Lion season is here, my friend.
It is, and it's a big year. And for the Detroit Lions, there's a lot of question marks regarding this football team. There's a lot more angst, a lot more reservation regarding the coordinators leaving, the changes, center that was revered, abruptly retired. Many people think it's a football team that might take a step back, but look, it's the NFL. It's a win now league, and this football team is poised to do some good things. And I love the fact that they're going to be tested with a tough schedule, because even if they stumble early or struggle, I think that they'll be playoff ready if and when they have an opportunity to make the postseason.
Hey, Doc, how many wins this division this year? Your opinion.
Yeah, no doubt. It's going to be a tough grind. Everyone kind of presumes that the Bears, Packers, and Vikings all got a little bit better. It was already one of the toughest divisions.
Yep.
It's gonna take probably probably a race of double digits. First team to 10 wins has a strong opportunity to handle business. And I do think that, the Lions last year were strong in the division. I think they will be again, but I do think that the teams like the Bears and the Packers are nipping at their heels.
No doubt about it. Hey, Anson, go ahead, brother.
I got plenty of things here. We've been talking about this rookie class, a lot of different characters, and it really seems like a lot of these guys were drafted in mind of some of the veterans that are soon to be leaving this team. So much is made out of the offensive line, and so many people are talking about Tate Ratledge. And I think Miles Frazier is being overlooked. Can you talk about what you've heard and what you've seen out of this kid so far, and how much play time you think he can have, and what kind of an effect he can have on this offensive line this year?
Great question. I do think that he is a player that is overlooked from the SEC coming out of LSU. But first and foremost, Anson, I do miss Malik Beasley. Until I see a replacement that can knock down the threes at the level of Malik, I am hurting that he's gone. But you had a great take. But until I see his replacement shooting threes at the same level, man, what a big miss and mistake from Malik Beasley.
I'm sure you missed Jamal Williams as well, though, right?
I've always, like a lot of fans, he listen, even though he went somewhere else and bombed with the Saints, when he was here in Detroit, it was touchdown central. He definitely helped out a lot of fantasy teams, but I think that potentially he might have overvalued himself and got himself shipped out of town, but that's what happens. But with Miles Frazier, look, I do think that there's an opportunity for him, clearly at the right guard spot, but we've seen him take a couple snaps at center, and so he'll be somebody that clearly at first will have a reserve role. But I do think that when you see a talent like that he brings to the table in terms of the run game, I do think that, in this, one of the early things people are going to be watching, myself included, at training camp, is the competition, the depth at offensive line. If Tate Ratledge wins the job at center, maybe he boots Graham Glasgow to a reserve role, and I wouldn't mind a young offensive line that features Christian Mahogany, Tate Ratledge, and Miles Frazier along the interior, and then you have the bookends and Taylor Decker and Penei Sewell. I think he's a hungry young player that can play well definitely good against the run, always got to work in pass protection. But you're absolutely right. I think he's a valuable asset that's going to work to compete for reserve opportunities early on, but don't sleep on him. He could be somebody that has an opportunity, if something happens down the road, to be a backup center. And that's what's good about the Lions in their training with Hank Fraley, who's one of the best assistant coaches out there, had an opportunity to interview with the Seahawks to be an offensive coordinator, comes back, and I think he's one of the guys that can develop talent. So Miles Frazier, I think, is going to have a good chance to have a nice reserve role, long career with the Lions.
You alluded to it a little bit. I personally, while everyone else is freaking out about this offensive line right now, we were battered and bruised and barely holding it together by the time Week 18 was finished and we were going into the playoffs. I truly believe that integrating these young guys early and having them mesh over the course of a full regular season, that this team will be better off not only for the playoffs with these young guys on the line, but obviously moving forward past this season.
Yeah, and here's the thing. With the talent that this offense features with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, I do think that, the opportunity to feature some great skilled players is amazing. And you look at Tate Ratledge and Christian Mahogany, two young guys that are projected to have a long career and do good things. Christian Mahogany had his opportunity late last year after dealing with illness early on. And when he got into that playoff game, he did well. One of the few players that performed really up to par against the Commanders. And so you slot him potentially as left guard. Many people are excited about what he can do. And then the question mark is going to be, okay, where does Tate Ratledge fit in? But when he gets his opportunity to play, whether it be right guard or whether it be at center early in his career, if he's the starter, if Tate Ratledge is the starter, my goodness, think about this, Anson. Tate Ratledge and Penei Sewell, that right side looks pretty strong, and you have an opportunity with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery to secure a lot of rushing yards. So I'm pretty comfortable, but it might take a little bit of time to gel. That's the biggest concern, is how quickly will a new unit that's mixing and matching parts gel. And that'll be something to see early on in training camp.
Hey, John Doc Maakaron joins us, covers the Lions for SI.com. He's there all the time. He's our guy here, Detroit Sports Podcast as well. Okay, so the offensive line you think is going to be okay. All the injuries on the defense last year, basically it cost the Lions the season. It did. They just ran out of bodies, and Goff was not himself after he got hit in that Washington game when he fumbled. I think he was concussed. I heard he even had the flu. You hear all kinds of things now after it's all said and done. But why the hell didn't they just hand the ball to Jahmyr Gibbs, for crying out loud, for 30 times? And I want to bring up Jahmyr Gibbs' name because the NFL and NFL.com put out their top 10 running backs. And who came in third? None other than Jahmyr Gibbs. And I don't know if there's two better running backs in the game than him.
Yeah, no doubt. And it was unfortunate, man, because I think an injury that maybe is understated was the David Montgomery injury. You got him back, but that wasn't the David Montgomery that everybody expected.
No.
But the one thing you got to see with Montgomery's injury, an MCL injury, was the fact that Gibbs he looked really good as a number one. Now, they did express, scouts and executives expressed concern that, hey, maybe if you give the ball to Gibbs a lot more, could he wear down? But I'm of the opinion him working out, gaining strength, you have a potential. You have a young, talented running back that can do a lot of great things in this league. And, yeah, you're absolutely right. I think that they view him as an Alvin Kamara type. Yeah. And against everybody's thoughts, the whole positional value debate, against everybody, they saw a football player, yes. Brad Holmes in the front office, scouting department, they saw a player that could be an explosive piece in this offense. You got to see even more of a glimpse of that last year. So I'm of the opinion you give him the ball as much as humanly possible in the passing game. Rushing attack, I think he can be a 1,000-yard rusher, 1,000-yard receiver, and he can do a lot of great things in this offense. And he just kind of has that aura of a shining superstar in weight, and now you just got to give him that opportunity. This is a big year for Jahmyr Gibbs, and I think everybody's going to see the all-pro potential in him this year. You have to. If you're John Morton, early on, what do you know? You know that Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery are going to get you a lot of yards in this offense. As long as the blocking is decent, right. I think that this running back core can definitely help Jared Goff, and I do think you set up the pass with the run with this offense.
I got to hop in here real quick because a guy that I was all over last year and was calling it as we were drafting him live as Sione Vaki. This is a guy that we saw come in and really only touch the ball on offense the one time during the punt fake.
Yep.
But I've been hearing a lot of good things out of OTAs about that they're giving him some more responsibilities as an offensive weapon possibly. Is there any truth to that, Doc? Are we going to see him this year?
I look at it. Yeah, great competition, but I do think that right now, as we sit on the depth chart, don't sleep on Craig Reynolds. I think that he's a guy that firmly established himself as a grinder, somebody that's just not going to give up his job easily. But Sione Vaki can be definitely somebody early on. You realize the Hall of Fame game is going to take place this month on the 31st. That's going to give guys like Sione Vaki a chance to shine, and I think a player that we all want to see get opportunities. But look, he's a converted safety. He's definitely somebody that has talent, but right now he's got more of a special teams kind of role. But, yeah, he's got to compete this year to kind of get more touches. But I do think that Craig Reynolds, when when Montgomery goes down, you see a player that's just gritty, that has a lot of special teams value. It's not Craig Reynolds is a fighter and is fighting, tooth and nail every year to hold on to his spot. So I think that's just great to add that level of competition to the room. And I'm curious, do they switch Sione Vaki back to safety or play defensive back? I do know they got a lot of depth there, but I do think that Vaki, as an offensive weapon, has got a tough hill to climb to see more touches, especially with the talent above him.
How about Jared Goff? I'm going to tell you this. Oh, stick. Yeah, that's stick in the background. Listen, I believe that Jared Goff will have his greatest year of his career this year. I believe he is where he wants to be. His family. He's having his first baby, him and his beautiful wife. I think everything is on the table for this guy. I think he's got tremendous receivers. They keep drafting receivers. They've got 2 solid running backs. They've got a great offensive line. I think it's sky's the limit. Sam Laporta, I think, has a huge comeback year. I think this would be Jared Goff's time. He's going to show everybody that, yeah, I am the guy here in Detroit.
Yeah, it's one of those deals where now you realize, okay, you're investing heavily in the salary cap with Jared Goff. The money's starting to kick in, and he takes up a portion of your cap. You saw what happens when he doesn't perform well, when things around him collapse. Look, it's going to happen when your offensive line doesn't protect well,
right,
when the play calling is not exactly up to par from Ben Johnson. You do need a lot of luck and things to go well, but there are a lot of factors that are going to help Jared Goff. John Morton put this offense in. They're going to give him more responsibility. He is an accurate passer. He's somebody that has so much experience. He's seen the level of defenses and can read defenses excellently. He gets the ball out quickly. The question mark is going to be Jared Goff, in my mind right now, is in that, and Maz, you'll understand this, he's in that Steve Young category prior to winning the Super Bowl.
Yep.
All this talent in the world comes in, everyone's doubting him, and he's just a guy that has all this talent, but just can never get over the hump until he gets the opportunity to win the big one. And that's where Jared Goff's at. We all remember the iconic scene when Steve Young wins the Super Bowl. He gets the weight lifted off his shoulders.
No doubt.
That's the last step in Jared Goff's career, is to win the Super Bowl. He's got all the skills, got all the yards, got all the accolades. Everything that you would want in a career, Goff has produced, except winning the big one. And now this is the year, these next couple of years, the window's there for him to take the next step in his career. I did a piece and asked the fellas at Detroit Lions NSI, has Jared Goff peaked? We have dissenting opinions at Detroit Lions NSI. Some of us believe that, you know what, he's a good quarterback, but maybe not good enough to win the Super Bowl. Others believe with more control, with emerging Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams taking another step forward, you have all the talent in the world to be able to do it. So you had one of the highest scoring offenses in the league last year. If you can continue that and the defense gets better, it's just one of those deals, Maz. I'm one of those kind of people that I want to see Jared Goff be the reason they win games because you're paying them so much money. But in the framework of a team game, you can put together a team that, led by Jared Goff, can win. But he's never going to be, I don't think, a guy where if the team's down 13 points is going to lead you to 2 touchdowns in 3 minutes. It's just not going to be that way, which we all kind of would like to see, the superstar guy just put the team on his back like a Patrick Mahomes. It's not going to happen like that with Jared Goff, but you can win in a controlled fashion, taking calculated deep shots and be methodical. It's not going to be the most sexy way to win games, but Jared Goff can lead this football team to a lot of wins. I just hope that one day he deserves it to be one of those guys that can hoist the Lombardi Trophy.
Stick is coming on the air to complain about, I'm sure, the Houston Texans game he's going to complain about, right?
No, not talking about the Texans. Okay. I'm going to talk about the Chicago Bears game 2 years ago on Thanksgiving. What do you mean he's not the type of guy that can bring you back down 2 scores? He did it. I've seen it. You've seen it.
Stick, we're not talking about the regular season. It's a completely different game. Many would argue that based on the money that he's paid, all right, watching the NFL, Jared Goff should have led that team as a 9.5-point favorite to win. Guys like, maybe I could argue, guys like Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes in that legendary status could have led the Detroit Lions. But once he got rocked, it was over. Jared Goff, look, Stick, you understand this. This is a talented quarterback that everybody understands what he brings to the table. But you look at it, there are weaknesses in his game that at the highest level of football, not against the Bears in the regular season, against a young, inexperienced Commanders team that is new to the postseason, you should be able to kind of look a little bit better. And against teams like, against opportunities where you have, in the postseason against the 49ers when things are going chaotic, you look at it and you say, all right, can Jared Goff elevate a team around him when things are going disastrously? And unfortunately, at this point in time, still no rings. So I just think that you just got to have a lot of good things going well for Jared Goff to have. And look, he's one bad game away. We've all seen it now where if he's bad, it's really bad with turnovers and accuracies and having a situation in which I felt like maybe if Jared Goff performed a little bit better against the Commanders, you maybe win that game.
So we're talking about the same Jared Goff, though, that went head-to-head with everybody's favorite in this town, Matthew Stafford, and beat him in a playoff game, correct? And the same Jared Goff who went head-to-head with Maz's guy, Baker Mayfield, beat him the very next week in a tight game and had to go down the field and take over the game. So we could talk about the bad performances, but you can't forget the good ones too, John.
No one's forgetting them. But at this point in time, we've seen him in the Super Bowl, and in that performance had 3 points, where Bill Belichick had one of his most masterful performances. He picked them apart and exposed every single one of his weaknesses and exposed what Jared Goff is not. Now, of course, we all know Jared Goff can win a lot of games, can win you playoff games, can get you to the NFC title game, can probably get the Lions to the Super Bowl. But if you're telling me right now, what's my opinion, do I think he can win a Super Bowl because of Jared Goff? No. I think you need to have everybody healthy. You need to have everybody clicking. You need to have him, making sure that the connection with Jameson Williams is strong, Amon-Ra St. Brown. So I look at it like this is a team that will win in spite of Jared Goff, not because of him.
So my question to you then, who's the one guy, if he goes down, decimates the entire season?
If one guy goes down, decimates the entire season, well, of course, it would be the starting quarterback, but I would also think Jahmyr Gibbs, too. If he goes down, that makes things a lot more complicated for this offense.
But that's what I was saying. So you can't have it both ways. Either he is the most important piece, because if he goes down, your season's done, or he's not.
Well, Stick, I'm going to tell you this. All right, you're investing in this guy $50 million, and every single year that now we've kind of going on to his 5th year in Detroit, we're still hoping that he can take this team. You're not going into the year going, yeah, right now, as we speak, the Detroit Lions are not the favorites to win the Super Bowl.